Hi, this is your instructor Dan Chang for GAD101, and this week's assignment is a continuation from last week's assignment on the hero cards. This week, what we're going to do is we're going to do a cleanup pass on, polishing up this very rough sketch that I did last week. Um, yeah, so first off, you could see I have my layers all arranged. I've got level one over here, and I just gotta come all the way down to find level one robot drawing. That's my drawing here, right? Like that. And so what you can do is what I can do is take this folder and just lower the opacity of it until it kind of fades fairly low so that it's not going to be distracting when I draw. And then make a new layer. And now I just come in and just start drawing. Yeah, it's that easy. I am going to hide these two layers first. And the reason why is because it can be kind of distracting when, part of my drawing is being blocked. Um, but I just have to have faith that, my rough sketch is generally positioned in a pretty good spot, and that if I follow it as a guideline, nothing should be too wildly out of place when after I clean it up. So here we go. I just have to, you know, still keep in mind that this is a robot. And when I'm drawing here, I'm just going to use a hard round with pressure size on there. So you don't want to draw with like all, the same size. You want to be able to utilize some pen pressure so that you can draw thin lines and as well as the thick lines. Um, as I'm drawing and cleaning up here, I'm keeping in mind sort of how planular the robot's head would be, meaning there'd be sort of these cut parts where like say the side of the head would be. It'd be like a nice little bevel there. That having little plain lines like that really help and really help break up the organic nature of a human skull. Think Terminator skull instead, right? Yeah, I'm just smoothing things out so they don't look so rough. It's fine to have a rough sketch when you're in prototype phase, but I feel like making this look a little nicer. I think this way you also kind of get more attached to your character because you've, given it some time uh, developing it. Gonna open up the mouth slightly and maybe give it like a little bit of gap over here. I don't know, makes it feel more robotic. It's the kind of stuff that the sketch alone cannot give you, right? And now I have to figure out what is it that's on the ears here. Maybe there's like a little device, some sort. Maybe it's a little camera. I don't know. I mean, shouldn't the eyes of the robot be the camera then? I don't know. Little asymmetry here. The neck could be like a bunch of cables or hydraulics, stuff like this. Makes it feel like a robot. Should probably collect some reference from that movie Robot Jocks, which is closest thing, closest reference I have to Rock'em Sock'em robots. Uh, Make a little gap here. This fist. As I remembered in that Robot Jocks movie, the hands of the robot were almost like mittens, where you know, robot was made for one thing, and that was to punch really hard. And over here, we want a cylinder. I'm going to attach a video about drawing basic cylinders and basic cubes and how to render it and how to kind of draw it. Um, if you've never taken an art class before, this will be sort of the foundations of how to draw. What I did just there was I selected this with the lasso tool. I hit Control T, which is transform. And if you move your cursor off to the side, you can actually rotate it around the corners, like that. And then once you got an angle you like, you hit Enter and deselect, which is Control D, and then you're good. So you're gonna get some basic Photoshop knowledge in this class, which is cool. I think I'm going to make the lettering slightly smaller. I always tend to draw things oversized. It's just a habit. I guess it's just easier to draw things bigger. Ooh. Probably, speaking of which, the wrist should probably get a little smaller right about here. It's like small thing going into a larger thing. Really shows the rotation at that point. I just want you all to clean up the artwork, you know. It's doesn't have to look, super nice. It just needs to look like you put in an effort to deliver more than just a rough sketch. I'm gonna hide a lot of my unknowns in darkness. Like what happens here? I'm just gonna lock it in absolute pits, shadows. Although it would make sense for this robot to put in like a little gap right here that allows for the arm to kind of move forward a bit more, you know? And then somewhere in there is like joints and all sorts of stuff. Again, mittens. Just drawing a cube. Wrapping around a form. Which is also, I mean, it's fine here because I like breaking it up in a natural way. It's fine. Honestly, I haven't really figured out what the arm does, but just have to get close enough where It just kind of feels like it could work. And want a little bit of the underside here. And again, coming out of here is a bunch of pistons and hydraulics, preferably kind of pointing downwards. Again, whatever you can't solve, just kind of get it into the pits. And then you can come in with the eraser tool and just make it look like there's a heck of a lot of stuff going on in the darkness. Just by kind of erasing out little square blobs and then coming back and what is it exactly? I don't know. But as long as you can convince people that it's something important that helps it move. There we go. I know you're not all drawing robots, but I'm just kind of taking you through my thought process as I'm drawing this thing. Just basic geometric shapes, like a wedge for the cod piece, right? And I would want like a gap here so that the legs look like they can kind of move independently. And again, little little curves like that, establish the cylinder that's we're looking down on it. And this is like an indentation to show like there's a hip joint in there. Kind of like you would see on an action figure, right? Something high tech. Sometimes I cheat with the high tech by putting in little, well, it's not cheat, but it's just a little thing that makes it look cool. A little, two little vents here and there. Make it look like there's functionality happening. There's a little vent, but two of them, you know. It's like, oh, are those vents or are they screw ports? I don't know. Yes. And oh, here's another trick. Age old trick. Use lighting to your advantage. What does that mean? Well, I already drew this leg on the right here, which means one can assume that the leg on the left is kind of similar in a way. So so that means I don't necessarily have to redraw all that detail. In fact, I can shade it, right? Like, oh, it's gonna be in the in the shadows. Ooh, like that. And that way, you don't have to draw every dang thing. Like that. The parts that overlap, you might want to put a shadow underneath it. You know, this overlaps that, so put a shadow underneath that. It just helps establish shadow underneath the chin. Puts a gap, so we know that the head sticks out. Cool. Yeah. All right. And then once you got that, then you fill in the back of it with some gray. And let's see if I can cheat it. Let me. Uh, well, some of it. Let's see. Control Shift I. Go to this back layer. Find like a gray value. Fill it in. I still gotta paint in all this stuff, but yeah, save me some work. What it is when I select around it, there's little gaps within my line work. And so it's like, oh, the inside must also be, empty or whatever. And that's why I didn't get everything. Little gaps. It gets you most of the way there. But what it didn't do was I didn't select the gaps that were supposed to be there, like right here. Yeah, those are gaps that are supposed to be there. It's kind of cool. And then maybe make the eyes glow a bit. That thing. Let's see, the number 1, something like that. Uh, little blinky lights here and there. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay. Yeah, can maybe put in a highlight on the bevel or something. You can, go at this all day long and render it, but I'm just hitting all the bevels right now. That's good enough, though. Yeah. So that's one cleaned up. Let's see, where are we at? 24. Well, let me save this one. Control Shift S. Save it as a JPEG. Let's see, hero level 1. Clean. Meaning it's a cleanup. Cool. Now, level 2. Again, just lower the opacity on this drawing. Make a new layer. hide those two things there. Make sure my foreground color is on black so that I'm able to draw. And I'm just gonna sketch. We could draw in some cut lines. What are cut lines? They're kind of like little panel lines, usually to indicate like a point of articulation or um, a panel that needs to be removed for, you know, repairs. Sometimes people just have it in there to make something look cool and sci-fi when you're doing science fiction-y stuff, right? One thing that I've learned in machine stuff is, drawing machines. If you have a piece like this top fin thing here that is attached to another piece like the dome of the helmet, you need to show kind of like how it's attached, and it's usually through some kind of a base plate or something. And it could be little bolts and rivets in there, or it could be something else, but just putting a border around it at least kind of gives an indication like, oh, yeah, it's attached somehow, you know. I think I want to give layers to the eyes. He's giving me Transformer vibes right now. Put some love into it, you know? Like give it its due. Find like with robots, if you do like this kind of zigzag thing, immediately makes it feel like a machine. It kind of shows like there's some interlocking system in here. Same trick as before. Gonna cut and then create some kind of a. There we go. He's kind of like the other guy, except he's bigger and has more spikes. So Yeah, so maybe he's still got the sort of piston system, but now it's got like armor covering it up. So a lot more gaps here. There's armor plating around here. Yeah, put in those little vent lines. Help show like, oh, it's a thing. It's like a machine thing. Yeah. And then over here I still give you the anatomical tendons that we recognize on a human neck, except here it's on a machine. And then we can do the same with this side. Right. Imagine like the sounds this guy would make whenever it moves. Be very loud. Yeah, maybe all this stuff is like a series of plates. I haven't even figured out what the arrangement would be, but maybe it's not necessary. And then the gaps. And then we got more spikes. Hard to draw spikes coming towards us. Yeah, put in a little bit extra time on the head, but kind of like the way I arranged the other one with like 3 fingers. Yeah, I don't think he would still have individual fingers at this point. He would, like, a lot of knuckle joints on the side, on the bottom. What's cool is you don't have to necessarily figure everything out, just enough where it establishes some credibility, like where it's like, I think that's a robot. Good enough then. Yeah, nice robot. Cool. I gotta draw the fist from this side. 2, 3. Again, just need to show it curves in on itself. Hands are so hard to draw. Drawing a cylinder for the wrist. Smaller cylinder for where the elbow would be. But because it's going away from us, I don't need to figure it out. Cool. There's gaps right here within the plating. It's probably a pit of the neck where there's a gap. Notice his chest isn't very large, and it's because he needs the real estate to be able to punch forward. So the chest would have to kind of get out of the way. Little rivet right there, right there. The rest of them is similar. It's basically like me cleaning up some of the line work and then just putting in a bunch of dark shadows for the gaps. That's that's kind of like the inking process. And then I've got the belt. I don't know about a giant too, now that I think about it. It'd probably be like the company logo, you know? Like like the Wayland Yutani logo or something, but number 2 would be off to the side, like an afterthought. He wouldn't tout, I'm number 2, I'm number 2. So put in a W. Kinda Wayland Yutani, but not quite. Alright. When we're making these cards kind of gives you some breathing room. Really think about the character through the design of the look of the character. We establish this is how the character's gonna move, what kind of a class, like a tank or, like a brute in this case, what kind of a class would I classify him as, you know, putting this kind of thought into it. It's the fun part of world building, right? Which is a huge part of game design, at least the parts where the artists get involved. I want it down here instead. Okay. And then the trick, like we had before, which was this just needs to be a shape. Because, oh no, shadow. I don't want to draw you. It's getting late. Kind of fun. Eh, we can keep this part. Make this part dark. Okay. At the bottom of the arms are going to be dark. Don't look down there. Cool. My cleanup. Gonna hide what's underneath. Make a new layer. Put it beneath my boy. On this layer, I'm just gonna select around it. Control Shift I. Go to this layer that's underneath. Pick like a grayish color. Like that. Gonna fill this in with the gray. Not that it would matter on the left side because it'll probably be covered up, but cool. I'm gonna bring those two things back. And then now I'm gonna come in and gonna get this. I mean, he does look upgraded. He looks a lot more intimidating than the other one. There we go. I like, let's just keep it simple. Cool. Cool. I like it. Save this out, Control Shift S. Go to JPEG. Come out here, rescan, and then type in clean as a JPEG. And then I'll just save, regular save. And now I should have, yes, I should have my cleaned up versions of this guy. And him, pretty cool. And then Mr. Upgraded, pretty cool. Yes. And that's the homework. All right. Thanks, everyone.